Aujourd'hui, nous allons traiter le passé composé, mais avec référence spécifique à la règle des accords entre le sujet, les CO2 et les COI. So today we are going to look at the rules of agreement with tenses of the sujet, the subject, the complement object direct, the COD, and the complement object indirect, the COE. So let's start with avoir. The participe passé of the verbs conjugated with avoir, they do not agree with the sujet. They don't agree with the subject. I said earlier in our previous class, verbs being conjugated under avoir, they do not agree with the subject. Therefore, if the participe passé is this, for example, manger. Manger remains manger, no matter the gender of the subject, no matter how many the subject is, it remains manger, it doesn't change. As against être. Alright? The verbs that are conjugated under être, they have to agree in gender and in number with the subject. As against avoir, the verbs under avoir, ils ne s'accordent pas avec le sujet dans une phrase. They don't agree in gender and in number with the subject of the sentence. That is rule number 1. And now let's look at the second rule. It says here that the participe passé does not agree with the sujet, the subject, but it agrees with the complement object direct or pronoun of the complement object direct. We did all this. It agrees with the COD or pronoun of COD if the COD/pronoun of COD is placed before the verb. So let's look at this sentence. Regardez, this is an A. Regardez cette voiture. Elle l'a gagné. That is, look at this car. She won it. So we're going to be focusing on this. Elle l'a gagné. Elle l'a gagné. So observe this sentence. You can see that we're working with the auxiliary verb avoir. But then there's something strange in this sentence. The rule with conjugating passé composé with avoir is that the participe passé that comes after it remains unaffected by the subject. But here we have gagné. We have a feminine gagné. Why? Let's look at the rule, the second rule. The participe passé does not agree with the sujet, good and fine, but it agrees with the COD or pronoun of COD if the COD/pronoun of COD is placed before the verb. So look at the COD. We have a COD here. Le. This le is a pronoun replacing voiture. Remember the direct object pronouns. These are the pronouns used to represent what we have at the left here. This is just me brushing on the issue of pronouns. So back to the rule. Gagner is feminine because the COD here is placed before the verb avoir. Therefore, this verb has to agree. This verb has to agree with le. So this le, there's L apostrophe instead of le or la because of this vowel. The vowel comes after these two, it becomes L apostrophe. They have to agree with the COD that comes before the avoir. This gagner has to agree with this. Let's look at another example. So I write, voilà les clés. Il les a gardées. So here are the keys. He kept them. So let's go through the rule again. When we want to conjugate with avoir, participe passé does not agree with the subject. So this garder has nothing to do with il, the subject. Let's read on. Let's wipe this. But it agrees with the COD or pronoun of COD if the COD/pronoun of COD is placed before the verb. So are these conditions met here? Do you think these conditions are met? Yes, I think so, because the plural pronoun variants of the direct object pronouns are here, which is le. Alright? It is situated before the auxiliary verb avoir. And the rule is that the participe passé shall agree in number or in gender with the pronoun. That is the direct object pronoun, which is le. That is why this has taken the plural feminine form. This le, let's go back to the formative sentences. This le is a pronoun representing le clé. Clé is keys. Clé is a feminine word. So because le is representing a feminine word, we are using garder, which is the feminine plural. So let's look at the rules with être. So we're going to be reiterating on the previous points we made. The participe passé of verbs conjugated with être must agree with the sujet. Alright, this is normal. They must agree with the subject. Remember that this category includes the verb pronominaux. By verb pronominaux, we mean reflexive verbs such as se lever, se demander, se tromper. Remember, we did reflexive verbs. That is, verbs that are directed to the person carrying them out. So, no need for examples here, because we've handled examples in the previous class. The verb, when we want to express Passé Composé using être, the verbs to be conjugated have to agree in gender and number with the subject of the sentence. Il doit s'accorder avec le sujet dans une phrase. Ça, c'est la règle. So, about the rule we just handled, about être, about the participe passé having to agree with the sujet, there are exceptions to that rule, which we are going to handle here. It's a very small exception, nothing serious. So the exception is that for pronominal verbs, the participe passé does not agree with the sujet if the verb is followed by a COD, complement object direct. What do we mean? Well, let's provide you with an example. So, elle se lavait les mains. She washed her hands. Look at this sentence carefully. You should notice something. Have you figured it out? Look at the subject in the sentence and look at the participe passé form of the verb conjugated. Laver should have been laver with the extra E, because the subject here is a feminine subject, she. So why is laver taking the masculine form? This is so because it is followed by a COD, a complement object direct, les mains. That is, this les mains answers the question, what? Remember that COD answers the question, what? In this case, I would ask the question, she is washing what? What is she washing? I will answer, she is washing her hands. So let's look at the rules again. The pronominal verbs, for pronominal verbs or for reflexive verbs, the participe passé does not agree with the subject if the verb is followed by a COD. This example plays out perfectly well. The participe passé is followed by a COD, and therefore it does not agree in gender or in number with the subject. It remains unchanged. It doesn't, in this case, it doesn't agree with anything. It's just there, unchanged. Okay, now the final rule. Note that when conjugating with être or avoir, as the case may be, the participe passé will never ever agree with the complement object andre. Whether COI comes before the verb or not, it never agrees with the verb. The participe passé must not agree with the COI. with the COI, the complement object André. So let's look at this example. Nous avons écouté avec attention les projets qu'ils nous ont exposés. So we listened with attention to the project that he exposed to us, or the project that he showed us. We can divide the sentence into two. We have the main clause and the relative clause. We are focusing on the relative clause, the subsequent part of the sentence. Qu'ils nous ont exposés. Now, if you look at this part, qu'ils nous ont exposés, working with the rule that the participe passé has to agree with a COD. If a COD comes before the participe passé, you might be asking yourself, why is the word exposé not conjugated in the plural form? Why is it not conjugated in the plural participe passé form? After all, nous is more than one person. So this exposé should have taken an extra S here, but that's not the case. This is because nous here is not functioning as a complement object dire. In fact, it is functioning as a complement object André. How? Because look at the verb exposer. Who did he expose it to? Exposer à qui? Il a exposé à nous. Although we didn't see the preposition here, we must be able to decipher. We should have enough agency to call such things out. He showed it, or he exposed it to us. If it was a question of what did he expose, then we'll be talking about COD. Perhaps this would have taken a COD profile, but this is not the case. Here, this expose was carried out at this. It was carried out to us. À qui? À nous. So that's the formula here. Alright, nous here is functioning as a COI, and the rule is that nothing ever agrees with COI. COI is an orphan in the business of Passé Composé. Nothing agrees with it. So you have to be careful to point these things out. So that's that for Passé Composé. See you all in the next class.